Good morning. Reporting live from Avoca, Iowa. I just pulled my car over and parked. I don't know if you can hear my stereo playing, but I just wanted to show you how ridiculous the fog is. And it was actually thicker earlier this morning. Thicker, is that right? Denser? So yeah, dense fog advisory, obviously. And this has been day after day after day. As you can tell, there's still quite a bit of snow on the ground, even though we've had temperatures in the mid 30s in the afternoon and near freezing or just above freezing at night. And what's happening is we got warm, moist air moving in, warmer, it's not super warm, but warmer air and moist air. And then the snow on the ground keeps the cold air, and the combination is fog. And it's not just here in western Iowa, it's in eastern Nebraska. I had a friend drive in from Michigan last night and they had fog all the way. So it's this whole area that's got the snow on the ground with this warmer air moving in. Now it's going to warm up, as I'll show you here in just a second. And we're probably going to lose all this snow by the end of next week. It's so sad to see it go. But man, the fog is cool though. I really like it. Just be careful out there. All right, let's pitch it back to me in the studio. Future me in the studio. Go, do it. Thanks, Mike. Future Mike here, and I got some more video on the drive home from Avoca here to Harlan, and that fog is thick. Visibility is quarter mile, half mile, so yeah, be careful out there. After I shot this, I actually came upon an accident. Someone pulled out of a store parking lot, and I'm guessing didn't see oncoming traffic and got hit. I couldn't tell if anyone was hurt, but it looked like an accident, so I'm hoping everyone's okay. Did a quick prayer as I drove by, and emergency responders definitely were on the scene. So anyway, be careful when it's foggy like this. It is cool, just the way the shadows and the depth of field, and I just love the fog. But yeah, do be careful out there because there is a lot of fog across the country. That gray area on this map is dense fog advisories, all the way from Texas through Oklahoma, through the plains into the Midwest, the Tennessee Valley, the Ohio Valley. Just a lot of fog, a lot of moisture moving up out of the Gulf. And with that, we see flooding, flood watches, and even some flood warnings. And we also see another flash flood warning is that red there in Mississippi, and a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings as I'm recording at about 10:30 in the morning on January 25th. So yeah, a lot going on with this southern storm, pulling up a lot of Gulf moisture and bringing the fog for many, and some flooding concerns for the south, and then even some severe weather, which we'll show you here in a second. Dense fog also in Central California. We have winter weather advisories across the Four Corners states, and some dense fog up there in western Washington as well. Oh yeah, flooding for West Virginia, possibility. And some river flooding, a possibility in Illinois and Indiana as some rain is coming down on the snowpack, so filling up some of the rivers. Here's a general view of what's going on at the surface and the resulting weather from that. And we see that stationary front and that surface low approaching the south, and that severe weather in Louisiana moving into Mississippi right now. Alabama, you're also under the gun today, at least possibly, and up into Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee later today. And this afternoon, with a little bit of warming, we'll see more instability, which could lead to more severe storms and even some isolated tornadoes. We'll show you that in a little bit as well. Big area of rain for the Midwest into the Ohio Valley and to the east. On the northern fringes of that, still a little ice hanging in for Vermont, New Hampshire, northern New York, and some a mixture of precipitation for parts of northern Iowa into Wisconsin. And then across the west, we see scattered mix and snow for the higher elevations, and along the Oregon, Washington, California coast, northern California coast, it is rain. Now here's what's going with that approaching storm that's moving out of Texas, so in the south, is pulling up that Gulf moisture. And so we're seeing widespread dew points in the low to mid 60s across the south, and then moving up the East Coast, South Carolina, North Carolina, even into Virginia, and of course Florida too. So some soupy air out there. And with that stationary front as a focus, that's where we're seeing the severe weather right now in Mississippi. And again, possibly moving into Louisiana as well. And even as you get into the Midwest, Omaha has a dew point of 34. Well, the temperature is like 35. So I just checked the Harlan temperature. It's 34. The dew point is 34. And that's why our fog is so thick. And that's the story across much of the Midwest. And even as you get further north further east, I would say, into Michigan and Illinois. So be careful out there with that fog out there, as I mentioned earlier. Here's your severe threat. And the bullseye for today would be eastern Mississippi, western Alabama. And then around that, a marginal risk. And then around that, just general thunderstorms as you get into the rest of Florida. But some of these storms, severe, yes, and so you're talking damaging winds and possibly large hail, but there is a slight chance for a tornado or two in that slight risk area. So the Severe Storm Prediction Center putting a 5% chance in that brown bullseye. Again, the chances of tornadoes are low, but there may be one or two today. So just pay attention to your weather. And even in the green area, a 2% chance of a spin up. So even parts of Louisiana and the Florida Panhandle and extreme western Georgia could see some of that severe weather and maybe even an isolated tornado. So do pay attention. It's warming up though. Here are today's highs across the country. And as you would expect, on the east side of that stationary front, it's really warm. Temperatures in the 70s, even 80s into Florida. Yeah, just really warm. And it's warmer than it's been in the Midwest. Now, let me change what I just said, because here in western Iowa, we've been kind of stuck. Lows around freezing and then highs in the mid-30s. And this is, I think, the third or fourth day of that. And with the snowpack on the ground, we're just getting fog day after day after day. And it's pretty cool. I like it, but it's going to change. We're going to get drier air in here for much of the rest of the country, and that's going to bring more sunshine and unfortunately melt the rest of our snow. I hate to see it go, but it's going to happen. All right, here's what's going on tomorrow. So our stationary front becomes more of a cold front, pushes further east. So under the gun for possible severe weather, at least heavy rain for Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, parts of Louisiana, and Mississippi. That's kind of the big weather headline. Maybe some patchy freezing rain in Kansas. We'll see. A mix around that. Snow in the Colorado Rockies into Wyoming. And still some ice potential for Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, with a mixture around that. And snow in northern Maine. How odd for them this time of year. And then Oregon, Washington, Northern California, rain along the coast. Snow in the Cascades, Siskiyous, and Sierra Nevada. And a mix otherwise. All right. So we're pretty much done with the forecast, right? But I do want to run through the GFS model for you real quick. And this is noon, so about an hour from now, noon Central Time. And we do see these showers and storms on the strong side with heavy rainfall possible, approaching Nashville, through central Tennessee into eastern Mississippi. And then we also see showers and a few embedded thunderstorms, perhaps from Missouri into Arkansas. And then you see our light snow up here in the Four Corners and further to the north. And a little bit of rain along the Oregon-Washington coast. Now, as we move forward in time, you can see this rain is moving northward. So Iowa, we have quite a snowpack here. And we're getting, most thankfully, light rain on top of that. But some heavier rain in southeastern Iowa and some heavier rain for Illinois into Indiana. And again, where you have some snow and the heavy rain, that's why we have some of these rivers that have some flood watches in effect. Ohio Valley also getting some good rains. We're talking the Virginias into the Carolinas, the Carolinas, and then rain here in Alabama. As we move through time, we're getting into tomorrow now. This is Friday morning. This is Friday at noon. We see showers continuing along the east coast or southeast coast, the Gulf Coast, rain and even a little bit of snow here. Rain in Texas, Oklahoma, and into Kansas, but a little bit of snow in eastern Colorado, northeastern New Mexico. and another system bringing heavier rain along the Oregon coast. And here we see our ice and our snow for New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. And as we move through the day tomorrow, that moves out. It lingers a little bit. And we see another round of heavy showers and storms moving into Memphis. This is midnight tomorrow night. Heavy rain for Arkansas, Louisiana, also along the Red River. And then we also see more rain for the Pacific Northwest. Again, it is that time of year. As this low tracks across the south, again, watch out for heavy showers and storms, and some isolated severe weather is possible with this as well. But the biggest threat here is going to be the heavy rain and the flooding. And so we're talking Alabama, especially into Tennessee and even parts of Kentucky now, and back into Arkansas. And as we move through the day on Saturday, this is noon Saturday Central Time. So more of eastern Tennessee getting in on it. You're looking at Bowling Green, Kentucky, and areas around that getting some decent rains. And now moving into West Virginia and even into Ohio. And some of that heavier rain with this low is moving into Indiana and Ohio. As we get into the day Sunday, let me go a few more frames. And here we go. This is Saturday midnight. Snow now on the north side as it's pulling in some cooler air. So Indiana, Ohio, parts of Pennsylvania getting a little bit of snow with this, but some heavy rainfall as well for North Carolina and Virginia. Moving into New Jersey, getting a little bit of that. Also Maryland and Delaware, and the snow on the north side. It's not a huge area of snow, but it's coming down pretty good here in parts of Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, Pacific Northwest, it's raining. Who knew? Right, as we get into Sunday, this is Sunday morning Central Time, and the snow continues to move into, New York State, Pennsylvania, Vermont, New Hampshire, parts of Connecticut, also a little bit of Rhode Island and Massachusetts, back into West Virginia, and a little bit of rain still in the Pacific Northwest. Did I mention it's that time of year? Yes, it is. As we get into later in the day on Sunday, storm moving off the coast, light snow on the backside from New England. This storm lifting northward, so taking the rain with it. Victoria Island getting some heavy rainfall for British Columbia, Canada. And then as we move into Monday, this is noon Monday Central Time, not a lot going on. A little bit of patchy ice for Minnesota and more rain for the Pacific Northwest. But the general theme is what I've been talking about for the last couple of days, which is the big warm-up that's coming. Obviously, the middle of January was very cold. Now that we're getting into the end of January, things are warming up quite a bit, and that'll be the case as we move into February as well. Here are your probabilities of seeing above average temperatures pretty much the whole country. Equal chances for parts of the South and Mid-Atlantic, and then cooler than average temperatures possible for the Florida Peninsula. And then what about rain? What about snow? What about precipitation of all kinds? Well, this is kind of better news, I think, for the middle of the country, because we're still in a drought here in Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma. I mean, all could use some rain or snow or whatever form the moisture falls. So this is good news. An increased chance now for the Central Plains, Northern Plains. The better chances of above average precipitation from Texas through New Mexico, Utah, and into Idaho and Washington, and even a better chance of above average precipitation, Oregon, Nevada, parts of Utah, and into Arizona. They'll take that. And then along the central and northern California coast, a really good chance of even more rain. So above average precipitation for basically the western 2/3 of the country as we move into February. All right, that's my report today, and I'm sticking with it. So I got to go back to Omaha and pick up some kids in the fog. It's kind of nice. I like it. Just be careful out there. All right. Well, thank you again for liking and subscribing. Do me a favor if you're still with me. Write where you're from in the comments, because I want to make sure that I'm hitting on the areas that people that are watching from. So again, I appreciate you so much. We'll see you tomorrow on the Weather Mic.